You know, some stories just sound too good to be true, right? Well, this is one of them. It's a story about how digging a ditch can, believe it or not, lead to building an empire. We're going to dive into the life of Ken Langone, a guy who is the walking, talking embodiment of the American dream. And we're going to see exactly how he pulled it off.
So, just to get our heads around the scale of what we're talking about, let's start with this number, $8 billion. That's roughly Ken Langone's net worth today. But really, the money isn't the most interesting part of the story. It's the journey he took to get there.
And this is the thing. He says it himself, right? He basically dares you. Show me where the silver spoon was in my mouth. He's not just saying he's successful. He's arguing profoundly and passionately that his life story is the American dream. So let's go back, way back to the beginning, long before the billions, to see where this all started.
So, where did it all begin? Well, it wasn't in some fancy boardroom. Nope. It started with the lessons he learned from his working-class family. Lessons in grit and, just plain hard work.
So picture this. Langone grows up on Long Island. His dad's a plumber, his mom works in a cafeteria. They lived paycheck to paycheck. So while they couldn't give him a bunch of cash, they gave him something else. Something that turned out to be way more valuable. A real first-hand understanding of what every single dollar was actually worth.
And man, this kid started working like almost as soon as he could. And look at this list. It's all over the place. Selling Christmas wreaths, collecting cardboard, then delivering newspapers, working at a butcher shop, and get this, literally digging ditches for the Long Island Expressway. This wasn't about some grand career path. It was pure hustle. It was about earning his own cash and getting a little bit of that freedom his family's budget just couldn't give him.
You know, there's this one moment that really sticks out. A real turning point. Every Sunday, his family would drive through this super wealthy neighborhood. And his mom, she'd turn to him and say, "Kenny, do you like these houses? You want to live here someday?" And then she'd lay it out for him. If you do, you have to work hard and you have to get an education. I mean, that wasn't just a car ride. That was a weekly lesson in ambition.
Okay, so even with all that hard work, he almost didn't make it through college. Can you believe it? He was at Bucknell University and he came up $300 short for his last semester. Just $300. But a dean's assistant, out of the kindness of her heart, lent him the money. And that small act, it had $1 billion return on investment because Langone never ever forgot it. He went on to become one of the university's biggest donors.
All right, so he's got his degree, right? Now he sets his sights on the big leagues, Wall Street. And remember, he's a total outsider. No family connections, no Ivy League stamp on his resume. Just that insane work ethic he'd been building his whole life.
And then, bam, he gets his big break. In 1968, he convinces the legendary Ross Perot to let his firm handle the IPO for Electronic Data Systems, or EDS. I mean, this was huge. Landing a deal like that, it totally put him on the map. It proved he could spot an opportunity from a mile away and close a deal with the best of them. He wasn't the outsider anymore.
So what do you do after you've made a name for yourself? Well, if you're Ken Langone, you do what all the great entrepreneurs do. You bet on yourself. He strikes out on his own and forms his own venture capital firm, Invamed. Now he's in the driver's seat, ready to invest in the ideas and the people he really believed in. And let me tell you, his most famous investment was right around the corner.
Okay, now we're getting to the story pretty much everyone knows, the Home Depot. But here's the thing, its creation didn't start with some grand vision for a retail empire. It actually started with a total crisis. So, let me ask you this. What do you do when your friends get fired? For most of us, maybe we'd offer a beer and some sympathy, right? Well, for Ken Langone, the answer was a little different. When his buddies, Bernie Marcus and Arthur Blank, got unceremoniously canned from their jobs at a home improvement chain, Langone didn't just see a problem, he saw a massive opportunity. So this is how it all went down. First, the firing. That led to some anger, which then led to a brainstorming session. And out of that session came this totally revolutionary idea. What about a massive warehouse-style store for home improvement? Huge selection, low prices. Marcus and Blank knew the retail side inside and out, but they needed cash. And that's where Ken Langone came in. He was the guy who hit the pavement, organized the financing, and raised the money that would turn this wild idea into a reality.
And listen, their beginnings they were beyond humble. I love this story. They literally couldn't afford enough merchandise to fill the shelves of their first stores. So what they do? They stacked up a bunch of empty boxes just to make the place look full. Just think about that for a second. Going from empty boxes on a shelf to a multi-billion-dollar empire. It's wild.
But Langone's contribution wasn't just the money.
Not at all. He was instrumental in shaping the company's whole philosophy, and he drew it right from his own life. I mean, this is a guy who dug ditches. Remember? He knew deep down that the people on the floor, the ones doing the actual work, they were the company's secret sauce. They were the most valuable asset.
He had this really simple but powerful belief: minimum wage, minimum talent. It just made sense to him. He knew from his own experience that you can't build something great by paying people the absolute least you can legally get away with. So from day one, Home Depot did things differently. They paid their people well above minimum wage, they offered regular performance reviews, and they built real career paths for them.
And the result of that philosophy, well, get ready for this number. It's absolutely staggering. Over the years, about 3,000, that's 3,000 Home Depot employees who started in entry-level jobs, pushing carts in the parking lot, they became multi-millionaires just through their hard work and their stock ownership. Now for Langone, that is capitalism working the way it's supposed to.
And this quote right here, it just sums it all up, doesn't it? He's not apologizing for being rich, but he is passionate about this idea that real success isn't just about making yourself wealthy. It's about creating a system where a rising tide actually does lift all boats, where everyone who pitches in gets a real chance to share in the rewards.
So, after achieving pretty much the definition of the American dream, Langone turned his focus to the next chapter. It wasn't about making more money anymore. It was about making sure other people had the same shot he did.
And this one really got to him. He met a pediatrician, a doctor who had served her community for decades, and she told him that she expected to literally die in debt because she was still paying off her own student loans while trying to help her son get through medical school. For Langone, something about that was just fundamentally wrong.
I mean, look at the cost. Over $200,000. It's this massive, crushing weight on the very people we need the most in our society. He saw a problem, and he realized that his money could actually solve it. Not just for one person, but for everybody.
So what was this solution? It was just breathtakingly simple and direct. He remembered that $300 loan that changed his entire life, and he made a $100 million donation to NYU to make its medical school completely tuition-free. For everyone. For good. Just an incredible, life-changing act of paying it forward.
He's also part of the Giving Pledge. You know, that public promise by the world's wealthiest to give away the majority of their fortune? But here's the telling part. He'd already given away more than half his net worth before he even signed the pledge. For him, giving back isn't some afterthought you do when you're old. It's a fundamental responsibility. And so Ken Langone's life kind of leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? His story is, without a doubt, a testament to what's possible in the American dream through sheer, relentless hard work. But it also forces us to ask, what's the responsibility that comes along with that success? For him, the answer was clear. It wasn't just about building a fortune. It was about using that fortune to open doors for others, to pay forward that small act of kindness that once changed everything for him.